Okay.
All right. We're live.
All right.
Did
So where's the big intro, James?
Yeah, welcome to Drinking Bros Live with us. Right. Don't peek behind the curtain. Oz is All right, I'll give it a second for people to log in. Otherwise, we'll start talking and they won't be there and they won't know what we're doing. They won't know who you are.
What are they talking about? I don't know.
I don't know. What are they talking about? Who is that chick?
They're
Who's
talking
that?
about James with his no intro.
Yeah.
Talking about
Talking about Funyuns.
Eat Funyuns.
Funyuns are fun. That's like
They're half fun and half onions.
Yeah, like a
Yep.
Funyun. Yeah. All right. So, how many people do we have on live, James? That's pretty good.
I mean, hey,
We'll get it to double digits soon.
Yeah.
Nick, people love you.
I'll talk to 7 people.
I mean, we did start 23 minutes late, so I would imagine maybe there were hundreds of people here 23 minutes ago.
Probably thousands of people waiting to hear what.
So, but had we started 23 minutes ago, we wouldn't have had me because my computer was rebooting and we had all kinds of technical issues.
We wouldn't have had a Funyun conversation.
That's right.
We wouldn't know that James used to use another program and now he's using this one and he forgot how to use this one and that's why there's a delay. We wouldn't know any of those things.
Right. We wouldn't have had all that technical knowledge crammed into our head on a late Sunday afternoon.
But now we know.
And we wouldn't have figured out that an outdoor pillow makes a great windscreen.
The best windscreen I've ever used,
Right. All right, James, are we up to double digits yet? Oh, okay. James is like, what? Huh? All right, awesome. So, hello, Facebook.
Hello, Facebook.
We're DB Live, which means we're actually live. This is actually happening 7 seconds ago because there's a 7-second delay.
Which is too much. That's too much.
We're DB Live, which means we're actually live. This is actually happening in 7 seconds.
Like an airplane could crash into me and I would die, but like for 7 seconds we'd still seem to be having a conversation.
Does that mean people are like kind of wishing that, like when they watch NASCAR and they kind of want to see somebody hit the wall?
Probably.
Yeah. Wasn't there a band in the 80s called 7 Seconds? A hardcore band?
I don't know.
Oh.
I think there was a band 8 Seconds, but that had to do with rodeo.
Yeah, no, this was hardcore punk. All right. Anyway, so Nick is with Ranger Up. Nick Palasomo with Ranger Up. He made a movie a couple, almost 2 years ago now, right?
Yeah, I mean, it hit theaters. It hit theaters May of last year.
Okay, so it's only been about a year. Oh my gosh, it feels like forever ago. It feels like so much has happened between then and now. Movie called Range 15 about zombies and vets and all things inappropriate. And in conjunction with that, I mean, it was such a groundbreaking film that in conjunction with it, you made a documentary, not a war story, because it's not a war story, but
right? Yeah. So the whole idea started as something that Jared and I talked about, where we thought it was going to be, kind of a cool thing to just have, a little bit of behind the scenes and do like a 10-minute mini documentary to go along with the movie. And then as we started going along and the project started really gaining steam, I asked my buddy Tim O'Donnell, who is a award-winning documentary filmmaker, to come on board instead of just kind of doing like a short little, just grab somebody and have them film it. And we also brought on Alex Miller, who's another great documentary filmmaker, and he was the second unit director for the film. And so I actually think that what we ended up with is a far better movie than Range 15 was. So Not a War Story is like a really powerful, compelling story that I think is going to cross over, the military civilian divide. Like, I think it'll be a powerful documentary regardless of who you are, because it just tells the story of, 5 people trying to get this ridiculous thing accomplished.
Mm-hmm. We actually have some video of Tim talking about the movie.
Yeah.
Can you run that?
Yeah, let's run it.
Yeah.
I think when I first found out about this story of a group of veterans, writing their own script and funding and producing
Johnny on the spot here.
Zombie apocalypse comedy in Hollywood, the first thing that jumped out of my mind is I need to see this happen, because it's I think when I first found out about this story of a group of veterans, writing their own script and funding and producing zombie apocalypse comedy in Hollywood, the first thing that jumped out of my mind is I need to see this happen, because it's never been done before. It's crazy. What is that going to even look like? And when I met the group of veterans that were trying to do this, there was even more stories that needed to be told. And, through this whole process, you kind of see the strength of the veteran community coming together and not quitting at every single obstacle that most people would not be able to pass through, not be able to find a way. But it's that veteran strength that really comes through. And I think also, it's kind of shocking at first, especially if you're not a veteran and you're not used to humor. You see amputees covered in blood that are pretending to be zombies. That image is like pretty shocking. But what's so great about that image is, and interviewing a lot of the amputees that got to play those roles, is they got to be funny. And usually when they're on camera, it's a sad story. They have to relive some of the worst days in their lives. And now it's recontextualized in a way where we can all laugh together. And maybe it is shocking. Maybe it's a little scary at first, but that's a way in to understanding veterans. And I think this movie is very important for veterans to see what's can happen when, the community comes together and that strength in numbers. And then I think on the flip side, I think it's important for civilians, because they're going to be able to see veterans in a new light. And you're going to be laughing, you're going to be cheering, you're going to be crying. It's a film that's going to be inspiring. And it's a film that needs to be told and needs to be shared with as many people as possible. It's been one of the most important things I've been able to work on. I've been working with the veteran community for 10 years. And this story has been there every step of the way. And I love the dark humor. I love the strength of veterans, and I'm proud to be a part of the process.
So Tim was talking a little bit about the veteran humor and how shocking it might be for civilians. Talk to me about how that humor actually develops during the course of your career when you're in.
Yeah, I mean, the military is a weird place, right? It's a weird place because you're always doing crappy stuff, but you're with the best people. And so, like, whether you're training or you're deployed, it's just always crappy. Like, even if you're going to do something fun, the military finds a way to suck the fun out of it. Like, going shooting is fun, but like going to the range in the military, there's so many procedures. There's so many like odd little things that you have to do, briefings you have to have. Like it ends up it sucks the fun out of it. So all that you really have is each other, and you kind of have to make do, right? Like, no matter where you are, it's either like you make the situation fun or you're just kind of living in this like negative space. Mm-hmm. And so, the longer you're in, the darker your humor gets. And guys that deploy like 6-7 times, I mean, they're just like off the charts. So we wanted to capture that, in the movie. And but I thought with the documentary in particular, though, it's really cool to kind of see it going on and on and on. There's some really powerful scene where, Mary is talking about how, like, anybody that knows Mary and has known her for a while, she's a funny person, but like if she makes jokes, the default is typically like people kind of weighing whether or not they're allowed to laugh. Mm-hmm. And I thought it's just a really powerful scene, and we kind of go into some detail with it. But, I think you get to see how people tick in the documentary a lot more than with Range 15, the actual movie. Like you either like the humor or you don't. It's a finished product. You either laugh at the jokes or you're like, oh, this movie sucks. But with the documentary, I don't care who you are. I think it's just a good, compelling film.
So when will we be able to see the documentary? It's out in a couple of weeks, right?
So June 30th in the Sam Goldwyn Theater, which is the same theater as the Academy Awards.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so we need to, we're on a mission right now to pack that theater. And so tickets, there are rules around ticketing for this thing. So tickets have to be $100. Mm-hmm. And that's going to include like an after party and all that kind of stuff. But we're keeping none of that money. So all of the money for this thing, for the premiere, is getting split between A Warrior's Heart and Gallant Few. But we need to pack that theater, and here's why. There's going to be about 300 Hollywood execs, like A-list talent, like real A-list talent, like crazy names, and executives from, Lionsgate and Paramount and Icon and all these big houses. And if we want the documentary to be shown in a big way, like a much bigger way than Range 15, we need to show that there is a big, powerful community behind it. And so right now the mission is to pack that theater.
I don't think that'll be a problem. I mean, you packed all the theaters when we premiered Range 15, right?
It's true. But, it's 1,200 seats. It's in Beverly Hills. We've got to get the family, packed in that theater, because it's going to be a huge night. It's probably the biggest night any of us have ever had in terms of the Hollywood scene. Like nothing that we've done thus far is going to compare to the names that are going to be in this room. And we really want to blow them away.
So how do people get tickets?
So I'll post the link after this, but it's on a website for the Academy of the United States Military, which is, I'll be honest with you, it's a nonprofit I didn't even know existed until they reached out to me to want to help us with this project. And it's run by a woman named Asal Ravandi, who was a Hollywood executive, and after 9/11 felt like she needed to do more. And she's of Pakistani descent and speaks Pashto, Urdu, and Farsi. And so she enlisted into the intelligence community and was attached to some infantry units doing some pretty crazy stuff for, I want to say, 8 years. And then got out and wanted to go back to Hollywood, but wanted to do it in a capacity that helped veterans. And so she basically picks a project every year in the arts in some form or fashion and tries to help them take it to the next level. And this woman is a powerhouse. Like, she is like a scary alpha. Like I consider myself to be an alpha, and she makes me look like a bitch, like just a total bitch. The amount of stuff that she gets done, like we were looking at the poster for the movie. Mm-hmm. like, what do you think of this poster? And she's like, give me a second, and came back and she was like, I just talked to the president of Paramount and he thinks that you need to change this, that, and the other thing. And I was like, all right, I will change those things.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So crazy. Like she's working really hard and honestly gets nothing out of it other than to see us succeed. So really, really cool. So I'll push that link out after. But it's the Academy of the United States Military.
Awesome. Yeah. So I made a note of that. I'll remind you at the end as well to push that.
Yeah.
So how many vets were on set did you have a hard count?
We don't have a hard count. It's kind of crazy. We know it's over 80. It might have even been as high as like 110.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, like the biggest day of set, we had, 155, 160 people on set. Most of the crew were veterans. Almost all the cast, other than the big A-listers, with Randy Couture, obviously he's a veteran, but all the other A-listers weren't veterans. So like just there, we were already at, I want to say like 65 people. And then, I mean, you start adding, everybody that volunteered, everybody that came on and helped produce or was an extra, so, my guess is it's probably like 110, but we're saying 80 because there's 80 that I 100% can count.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that just kind of filtered in for a day, never gave us their name and then disappeared. So we did our best, but I would say at least 80, but probably more like 110.
You have this great story about the craft table, which is all the food that they serve and like just the amount of money that was spent on food alone.
Yeah.
And how one day you just sort of wrote, why do we get like filet mignon and everybody else gets like hot dogs, right?
Yeah, it was weird because we specifically told, so that, Ross is in charge of the whole thing, right? Mm-hmm. But he has producers underneath him that work for him. And so, I spoke to those guys and Jared and I were, we said like, look, here's the deal. I know this is the way it works on most movies that like the cast and crew get X and then like everybody else, like the extras and whatnot get pizza. It's like, but we don't want to do that. So whatever, figure out like the balance and just, if we all need to just have hamburgers or whatever, that's cool. And, the guy thought we were joking because nobody in Hollywood does that. So he straight up thought we were joking, like, yeah, good one. And so day one, with all the extras, I want to say it was like our third day of filming or fourth day of filming. We have all these vets show up, like, I don't know, 30 amputees, a ton of people that had served in multiple deployments, and they go to eat at the table and like, people are stopping them and saying, no, your food is over there. And Joey Jones ran over to grab me and Jared and was just like, dude, what's this all about? And we were like, son of a bitch. And so we went over there and basically the contract said that we had to serve this premium food. And so we were like, all right, then you have to serve the premium food for everybody. And like the food people were like, yes, because
all right, score.
Yeah, just that decision to feed like everybody the same cost an additional $75,000 on top of what we already had budgeted, which was like 125. I mean, it was like insane. Like the food, everything out there is crazy. Like if we shot it in North Carolina, I could go to a barbecue joint and just be like, every day bring us like 80 pounds of food, and every day we would have spent like $200. It would have been fine, but here, in LA, it's like, oh yeah, that's an extra $75,000. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what it cost you, but that's what it cost us. So yeah, just, it's weird. There are no like rules of decency out there. Like, it's all about status. Mm-hmm. And in most places, they call the actors talent, and talent doesn't even talk to the crew.
Wow.
Unless like they need something. So it's really weird. It's uncool, but we had a lot of fun.
So you guys were like total outsiders coming into Hollywood. Well, not even really coming into Hollywood, right? You kind of went around the whole thing.
I mean, we were in the heart of Hollywood. Every place we shot is like a well-known Hollywood set.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't get help from Hollywood with the exception of two places. So first was Hollywood Heard. And I thought his nickname Hollywood came from the fact that he had spent like 18 years in Hollywood, but actually that was his call sign when he was a pilot.
Wow. I just assumed the same thing.
Yeah. He's old enough that Top Gun was cool when he was, when he was getting in, and he was a pilot, and that was his call sign. So, he was inverted. And then the other group was a group called ISS, and they're one of the biggest prop houses in all of Hollywood, and they're super pro military, and they donated all the props. That would have been probably $250,000. So Hollywood Heard, who is the man, and then ISS, those were the two like beams of light in Hollywood, and everybody else just tried to fuck us the whole time. And it's all on tape. Like Tim O'Donnell and Alex Miller are like the sneakiest camera guys of all time, because Tim O'Donnell straight up walked into like an extortion where Ross is handing like $12,000 over in cash. And he just had the camera rolling the whole time, like under his bag, and he's just holding it like this. And the guy didn't see it. So we have it all on film, and we've got a couple of small ones where it's like, here's $1,000, here's $750, and it's all on film. And we captured all of it. Like, this is all the stuff that you hear about in Hollywood, but nobody's actually like filmed the story. So it's pretty wild. It's a pretty wild documentary. Like, just watching it gave me anxiety. Like when Tim and I finally had kind of, we did like a ton of different, like, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? Talked about the edits. And when I was out in Boston and sat down and we looked at the final cut not the final cut, but the first cut we wanted to show people, we had an audience of like 12. And I actually had anxiety. Like, I relived the anxiety of making the movie and all the times like we almost failed because, Tim and Alex captured everything. Wow. Like arguments between the guys, stuff that I didn't even know he filmed, like, conversations that we were having. Like, forget about the outside elements of Hollywood, just like the stress of the five of us and Ross, captured all of it. So it's pretty wild. It's like really like it's a powerful movie. And, with Range 15, again, like I love Range 15. I'm really proud of it. But with Range 15, I knew like there are people that are going to love this. There are people that are going to hate this. But with Not a War Story, like we could win some awards with this. This is a strong film, like by any standard.
Yeah, there was a little 10-minute teaser of it at the end of some of the showings, and it was really, really powerful. Actually, speaking of almost not making it, James, can you cue up the Hollywood Heard? Awesome.
When I first heard that a bunch of veterans were getting together and doing a film, I thought, hey, that's something I want to get involved in. I'm a vet. I've been in the film business for about 15 or 16 years, and I've got a lot of equipment, a lot of gear. I want to help these guys do this movie. But what I really didn't realize that these guys that had never done a movie before, had never written a script before, were one of the most prepared group of guys that I've ever seen. Ross sent me the script, and I read the script, and I'm like, wow, we've got gunfire, we've got vehicles, we've got multiple locations, and they're going to shoot this in 13 days? Never going to happen. Scenes of dialogue, 5-page scenes with 4 or 5 guys involved, and we're going to do 12, 13 pages a day. I didn't see how it could be done. But I wanted to help out. I wanted to make it happen if I could, and so I joined up with everybody else. And a couple nights before we started filming, I met all the guys: Matt, Nick, Jack, Vincent, JT, and I was blown away by how prepared these guys were, because not only did they know their dialogue, they knew everybody else's dialogue. And when it came down to shooting the scenes, we'd get the scenes in one take, move into medium shot, move into close up. These guys never missed. And that's what made it incredible. I know it's because they were just as prepared for this movie as they were for being in the military when they were going out on operations.
Take means, like how hard it is to do a scene in one take.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy, especially the scenes. The hardest scene to shoot was the one when we're in the map room.
Mm-hmm.
That was the hardest scene because it is like a 4-minute scene and everybody has multiple lines of dialogue. And the first scene that you always shoot is the master scene.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the scene where everybody has to get it right as a group, because if any of the solo scenes or the paired scenes or whatever fail, then you have to at least have the master so that you have a movie. Mm-hmm. So the first master shot is everybody in it, and we all had to hit our lines. If anybody missed anything, then we had to start all over again. And I want to say that with 4 minutes of dialogue, I think that was the only time where we missed, and I think it took us 3 takes to get it perfect. And we were really upset that it took us 3 takes. Like, we were actually all kind of like, we were apologizing to Ross, apologizing to Hollywood, and they were like, you got it in 3. That's awesome, because they had planned for like 12.
Wow.
Yeah, they just.
Plus, it wasn't just dialogue; it was timing, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Right? Yeah.
Timing, facial expressions, everything. And so then you shoot the master, and then that was such a big scene that it wasn't like individual shots. So we kind of broke it into like left side, right side, and middle. Mm-hmm. So we had to shoot everything. I want to say in total, we probably did like 14, 15 takes of the exact same scene, and you had to be consistent every time. And we had very few mistakes, and that was the day we had the most mistakes. It's just hard to get that many people, in concert. Right. But that was one of the ones that Ross and Hollywood were both really worried about. So once we nailed that one, a lot of the pressure was off.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever tried to take a picture of 5 people,
yeah,
get them all to look at the camera at the same time, it's like herding cats. I couldn't even imagine, a room of, what was it, 8 people in the room?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was wild. Yeah, that was a wild. Yeah, because Evan was chained to the.
That's right. He was there.
Yeah, so it was the main 7 plus Evan chained to the side.
7 plus Evan.
Yep.
7 plus 7. So 80 to 100 vets. What was it like working with that many vets, having that wide and breadth of experience?
It was awesome. Yeah, it was really awesome. The difference between, so I've been out of the military for a while now. I've been in business for a while. I worked in corporate America for a while. You forget what it's like sometimes to truly have a group of veterans around. And the cool thing that I remember the most is bad things would start happening, because bad things happen to us every day. And some random person I had never met before would be like, would walk up to me with like a checklist and be like, hey, Nick, this is happening. Like, I'm doing this, this, and this to fix it. And I've got these 6, can I take these 6 people with me? And I was just like, holy shit. Like, I've literally never met this person, and they're acting as a line producer, like unpaid, with no experience, but like it has to get done, and they're vets and they're there, and they're not going to just sit around. Like, it was a crazy security blanket to have the group around. It wasn't like we were doing them a favor. Like, they pushed the movie across the finish line. I mean, forget about the like really powerful moments, like where, one guy literally, fixed our Humvee, coordinated with a unit to bring a slave cable. Forget about like that dramatic stuff. Just on a daily basis, like, oh shit, we can't find this prop. somebody goes and finds it. Oh shit, like the props guy forgot to buy these things. Somebody is taken off. Instead of standing around and having a conversation, like 3 dudes just took off in their own personal vehicles to go to a gas station to buy, random things that we needed to finish filming. And it sounds like little stuff, but when you have a huge group of people trying to get a movie done, there's a lot of standing around and a lot of plotting and planning instead of doing. And veterans aren't like that. They're like, well, this is a simple problem. I'm going to go take 40 minutes and solve it, instead of, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to call this guy and send him. And, it just, so things were always just happening. A lot of times problems were solved and we didn't even know that they were problems, which is the opposite of what typically happens in Hollywood.
So do you think that's kind of the magic of the whole movie? Like that community coming together? Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. And I said this when we were on set, and like, hopefully we get to do another movie or movies. Like, I'm pretty invested in doing other films. I know Rocco is as well. And, hopefully we get to do other movies, but even if we don't, the coolest thing I've ever done was that movie, seeing that to its rightful conclusion. But it's almost like I'm almost afraid to do another film, because I don't know if we're ever going to get back what we had for Range 15, because everybody just pulled through. Like everybody just went above and beyond. And there were so many times where we were totally fucked and somehow still got it done, that, like it was truly magical. Like finally showing that movie. I mean, people don't even realize, in order to, like, the music for that movie, we made those bills were due. Half the bill for the music was due before we went to theater, and half the bill for music was due right before we released on digital. And like, a few of us ponied up the money for the first half because the movie had not made enough money to pay for the music. And then we got a small check not a small check. We got the check from Tug for all of those Tug showings that everybody fought hard for. The Tug showings covered the second half of the music. And the final bills that Ross had that weren't due and for like 4 more days. So we basically we got paid with like 48 hours to spare to pay for music to go to DVD, and 4 days to spare to pay for the final sound, color, etc. for the film, before that was like an issue. So like we really, even at the end, even when the movie was done, it was still by the skin of our teeth. Because if we had gone to DVD and iTunes without paying that music fees, like we would have got destroyed by big music. It would have been bad. So like it was crazy. Like everything was crazy tight. We had to fight for like every inch of it.
And I mean, think about it. Where you guys started, you were doing YouTube, which is basically one take, whatever happens, throw it there. Music's in violation. I don't know. I just say, yeah, I don't own it, right? And I can't even imagine the complexity of what you guys had to do and had to deal with.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then once successful, that's when the lawsuit started. So instantly people sue you.
For like what? Like
they make it up. They make it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I don't get into them, but
right.
But like we're dealing with a few lawsuits from people that just, the movie did well. And so they were like, well, the movie did well, so now I deserve more money than what I agreed to in my contract.
Yeah. Well, crazy. Well is a relative term too, right?
Super relative. Nobody got rich off of Range 15.
Right.
Like,
basically about break even.
Yeah. We did, we made a little bit of money. And all of, a lot of that is getting pushed back into getting this documentary finished. No one got rich off of this. I'll just say that. And some of the lawsuit numbers were hilarious. Like hilarious. Like I won't go into the details of who it was or.
Yeah. Oh, did we lose Nick?
No, I'm still here.
Okay, good. Yeah, you just lagged for a second.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The first lawsuit we received, and I won't say what it was about, but it was for $1.75 million.
Did you just like put little smiley faces on and send it back? LOL.
Laughing my ass off. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you know, how much do you think we made on this thing? Like, it was like, but that's the way things are, you know, like, you know, people, it's just not a good industry, you know, but you know, we didn't have that issue with veterans. You know, we didn't have that issue with anybody that was in our community. It was all people that were kind of tangential to the outside, and you know, it just, you know. But Ross told us it would happen. He said 100% like this will happen, and everything was so cool on the set that we didn't think it would. And sure enough, Mr. Patterson was right. Like, he knows Hollywood a lot better than we do.
Well, speaking of people who are on set, so one of my second favorite vets is Mike Dixon, and I think we have some tape of him doing an interview as well.
The man, let's do it.
He's the Rhino, by the way.
He's the Rhino.
Hi, I'm Mike Dixon. Some of you guys might know me better as this guy, Rhino. It was a privilege to be associated with Range 15, with the making thereof. To come out to LA and be a part of the movie as an extra. I got to be in the bar scene as Rhino, which was really cool. So thanks to everybody that let me do that. Totally surprised. Then I got to be a zombie and play a couple of different roles there, and it was really it was fun. And a true adventure to watch how this all came together from the very beginning with the Indiegogo campaign, getting associated with getting the movie into the theaters, you know, being on set with, you know, a bunch of just, you know, true American heroes. I mean, Medal of Honor recipients, tons of Purple Heart guys that were there, just sitting around telling stories with the same sense of humor. It was just great to be there and associated with it. It was one of those experiences where you see people from all the different walks of life that came together and to make this happen. They had one mission, so to speak, to make this a reality. And it really threw me back to my Army days of, you know, it didn't matter what state you came from or what socioeconomic group you came from. You were in the military. You were a vet. You know, and you were there to do a job. So it was really cool to be associated with that again. So I do want to say thanks to Ross and Nick and Jack and Matt and JT and Rocco and you know, and everybody that was associated with the film to let us come out and be part of the movie, to be extras, you know, to get our faces shot off, you know, to have fun, to see what was going on behind the scenes, you know, and to see all the things that went into making the movie, all the different. So being there on set, we saw the cuts that didn't make the film. So there's a lot of stories that I hope Tim got for Not a War Story that tells a lot of the things that happened behind the scenes that you didn't see in the movie, but we know because we were there. Anyway, thanks guys.
So Mike mentioned there's some things that you didn't see in the movie, some behind the scenes things. And I know during some of the premieres you've shared some of those stories, like about the craft table and some other very cool things, like about the Humvee. What is sort of, aside from those, what's one of your favorite stories from behind the scenes that we wouldn't know?
Man, God, there was just so much stuff. You know, one of the weird things, and this is just a weird story, is that Jack took great pride in being our driver, but also always complained about it. So, you know, like day one, it was like, hey, Jack, can you drive the van? And he was like, oh, all right, I'll drive the van. But then, like, he didn't want anyone else driving the van, you know? And there was a day where some of the Hollywood people took the van without asking, because we left the keys in it just because we didn't want to lose them or anything. Took the van without asking and like left a ton of trash in there. And I've never seen Jack lose his shit more than on that day. Like, he's usually a really low key, like stable guy, but he was like, you ruined my fucking van, you Pete. Like, like lost his shit. People were like afraid. They were like, "Are you serious, bro?" And then like when they kind of didn't care, like then I got mad, and so like we're like super fired up, and everyone's like, "Why are you guys mad?" We're like, "They fucked up our van." You know, so it was like a big thing. And like if you kind of watch even the documentary, like you'll see a few times where Jack's talking about driving. He was one of 2 drivers in his unit that drove the entire way into Iraq. He takes great pride in that. And so he also took great pride in being like the solo driver for all of Range 15. So every day Jack Mandeville took us to the set and he took us home. So there's a little weird behind the scene thing.
That's fun. Yeah, he's local to me now, so maybe I could catch a ride with him today.
He moves there permanently tomorrow.
Tomorrow
he permanently moves to DC.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. What was that like? Like, I mean, we've seen all of the FU Jack and all that stuff, but what was the last day like with him?
Yeah, it's weird, you know, because he's been around for a long time now. He's been with us for over 4 years, and he's such a big part of like the, the creative side. But you know, like it's a good move for him. You know, like this is definitely it's the right girl. He's excited about it. Like life moves on, you know. And if we do other big creative projects, like he's 100% in if he wants to be in. It's not like he's out group or anything. So, you know, I mean. You know, life moves on. Like it's sad. It's weird. We all like the day after Jack left, it was weird because nobody's walking around just sticking a phone in your face to say stupid things. No one's walking around naked. Nobody's walking around in like, you know, silkies and ostrich skin boots. Like there is something different about no Jack Mandeville, but I'm really happy for him, you know, like, and you know, the next thing is to make sure he gets the job he wants out there. So if anybody knows anybody in DC that needs somebody kind of on the marketing social side, Jack is looking for work. So I will 100% be a reference if anybody needs that as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I work in marketing, but I know people.
There you go.
Let's see. All right. So after the Hollywood premiere, after you're at the Sam Goldwyn Theater,
yep,
are you going to release Not a War Story? You know,
so it depends. It depends. I would love for lots and lots and lots of people to see this, which is why for this one, we would, if it was the right partner, we would partner with somebody. Mm-hmm. And so that's why we want, you know, we want to show Hollywood that there is an audience here, you know, by filling that theater. Because I think this story is a game changer for the community. Mm-hmm. You know, I think this story ending up, you know, in theaters, on Netflix, on HBO, and some of these big locations, I think that is going to open doors for like an entire generation of filmmakers. Because, you know, like, we're really hard workers, you know, like we're not quitters. There's a lot of things that we do, you know, that we did for this film that I'll always be proud of. But there isn't anything innately special about anybody that did this film. Like none of us are brilliant. None of us are like so talented that no one else can do this. Like I would like other people to come in and replicate what we did for their own art, whether it's documentary film, you know, dramatic film, comedy, whatever. But like we basically we gave everybody the blueprint for how to do this. And I'm hoping that other people grab that blueprint and, you know, get a veteran influence in Hollywood. Because, you know, everybody, myself included, likes to shit on Hollywood, right? Like these guys, they live a charmed life. They like to talk about politics. Many of them know what they're talking about. A lot more don't, but they still are just as loud. And so it's easy to get frustrated and just kind of like hate on them. But the reality is they have huge influence. Millions and millions of people listen to what these people say. And a lot of the actors, even though we make fun of them, are like really good people. Mm-hmm. So, you know, why not be in a situation where they actually respect you and listen to what you have to say. So maybe the next time they're portraying vets, they hire more veterans, or maybe, the next time they portray vets, they actually try to do a more accurate job. Or maybe next time they're running a giant $200 million film, they say, hey, make sure 5% of our hires are veterans. Like, if we can just have that minor impact on Hollywood, we've completely changed the way veterans are treated in the industry. And I think the fear right now is that everybody kind of assigns the worst imaginable stereotype associated with President Trump to the veteran community. Whether you're a Trump supporter or not, like, there is, like, the fringe group. They don't do that with the fringe group on the left, which is just as crazy. But, you put like the fringe groups out there, and that they kind of assign that stereotype to us. And so they have to meet us and realize, oh, wow, these are rational people. And, they're not scary. They're not jerks. They're not trying to tell me I'm a piece of crap. And once they see that, just like with anything else, you interact with people, you realize that people are decent, and it changes everything. So
but there's something innately special about veterans. Like the stories that you tell about people just doing the work. Yep. Not they're self-empowered and like willing to do whatever it takes, right? So that is special. That is something that's different about veterans.
100%. Yeah. And that was one of the things that a lot of the people on the crew said, is they were just shocked. They were like, I've never been on a movie where everybody wants to get it done. Because usually it's like a problem pops up, the actors go to the trailers, and a handful of crew have to kind of figure it out, and everything just stalls in the meantime. And with Range 15, it was the opposite. It was like, there's a problem, we're on the clock, we've got to get this stuff done. Everybody just pitched in and got it done. Wasn't always exactly what we wanted. We had to just kind of make do, but like we filmed the movie in 13 days. So you do the best you can, and
it's just crazy.
If it wasn't for the volunteers, if it wasn't for the extras, wouldn't be the same movie. Like, and I'm not blowing smoke. Like, they saved our ass over and over and over again, So, it was just like, it was a magical moment. I know how wussy that sounds, but like I said it to JT. I was like, man, this is a magical moment right now. And like, this is probably the only time in my life where I'm in a magical moment and I appreciate it for what it is. Because usually you don't realize that a moment is cool until you've lived it. And then you're like, oh shit, remember when we did that back then? That was cool. But for the film, it was just awesome. Like, really awesome to be on set. Then you leave set and it's back to work, and it's totally, like the grind of the last, 6 months of post-production, that sucks. Dragging that across the finish line is one of the hardest professional things I've ever had to do. But being on set was just awesome.
Yeah. And you didn't make just one movie. You made two, right? You made Range 15 and Not a War Story, right?
Yep. Yeah. So everybody kind of feels like it was done when, when we actually, put everything out on DVD and in digital and iTunes and all that stuff. But I haven't stopped yet. So, as that was finishing, Tim O'Donnell, Alex, and I, have been working on this documentary. And now that we're getting close to the point where we're going to be pushing this out now, Rocco and Jared are helping on the marketing side. So like, this project hasn't slowed at all. I mean, it's been nonstop. I actually look forward to the moment where like the last thing is delivered and I can just be like, all right, Range 15 is officially over for me. But this is now year like 3.5 for me.
Yeah. And as I've only known you a couple of years, but I've never known you to not hustle. Like, you're always doing something.
Yeah.
I can imagine that you would stop, right?
No, I don't think it's in me to stop. Like, I used to think, when I was younger, I used to think about like, oh, I want to retire by this date or whatever. I don't think I ever will. I think I just want to do things. Like, you look at like the the badasses in history and like, the Benjamin Franklins and whatnot. Like those dudes are like inventing, writing, doing all this crazy shit, basically right up until the day they died. That's probably going to be me. I hope once I get into my 50s, it's like more vacations, but right now I'm just cranking and pushing.
You're going to be on your deathbed. Well, I got one more shirt idea.
100%. Yeah. Probably not shirts at that point,
Right.
but something,
So we're going to wrap up here in the next couple of minutes. What do you want people to take away from Not a War Story? We talked a lot about a lot of things, but what is the one thing you want people to remember and walk away with?
Yeah, I think the most important thing for Not a War Story is that when you're looking at it from the outside, it's easy to look at Range 15 and I like to think about the negative comments, not the positive ones. Like I'm thrilled at how many people loved it. The movie's done really well. We've got positive reviews, but there's also like this group of people that really like hate the film. And I think a lot of it is envy that they didn't do it, but the comments are like, "Oh, this is like, a film student could do this film," and so forth and so on. And I like to grab onto those comments because I know for a fact it's completely fucking untrue.
Mm-hmm.
Because the size of this picture was insane. The fact that Ross held this thing together with unskilled actors, not a novice crew except for a few key people, is just a fucking amazing accomplishment. But bigger than that is the accomplishment of the community. And I, honest to God, think, and I know this is probably arrogant, but I don't think there's another community that does this and succeeds.
Yeah.
I think you grab any other community and say like, "Oh, we're going to do this." I think the movie falls apart. 100% just falls apart with the restrictions we had. So like we had the right 5 guys, we had the right director, and we have the best community in the world. And I know that, and everybody on the film knows that. Like I want fucking America to know that. Like I want everybody to fucking know what this community did, because it shouldn't have happened. This movie should not have happened. We should have failed at least 12 times. And instead it exceeded expectations across the board. And like if anybody had half-assed it, we would have failed, And so you almost never are in a situation where you have 100 some odd people involved, and if one person doesn't pull their weight, like the whole thing drops out.
Mm-hmm.
And it still worked. Like that doesn't happen. So I know, having been in business for 11 years now, I know how much of an anomaly this is. And I just want America to know it. Like I want America to know how awesome this community is and how not like the stereotype it is. So that's my motivation on this. Like I want the maximum number of eyes to see Not a War Story, so they fucking know who we are.
Yeah. One last question.
Yeah.
So what was it like working with Tim Kennedy on set? Like I know you've known him for a long time.
Yeah.
In his MMA career, but like on set, what was it like working with him?
So for me, working with Tim at this point is not a big deal. Like I have known Tim. I've just known him for too long. I've cornered him in all his MMA fights for the last 11 years. But what I will say about him is this: he saved our ass with the stunts, and so we had a stunt coordinator. Nothing against the guy. Like he did a lot of good stuff for us, but he was just too slow. He's used to working on big films with big crews, a certain way of doing things. And we didn't have the time, and we didn't have the money to do what he wanted to do. And so I called Greg Jackson, and I know Greg from Tim,
Mm-hmm.
and Tim called Keith Jardine and Cole, who is a stunt choreographer that already lived in LA, and we put together a new stunt team overnight, like 100%. We fired this other guy in the morning. I'm sorry, at the end of the day previous. Greg Jackson was getting on a plane 90 minutes after we fired the old guy.
Wow.
And they flew out, and there was so much going on and this is another thing that I credit Ross with. Most directors are unwilling to kind of work with people. Like they just want to like run every tiny bit of it. Mm-hmm. Ross was like, I am not a big stunt guy. This is not what I typically do. I can do it, but Tim was choreographing the whole thing. And so I said, Tim, how about this? You direct, I will run the cruise, but you actually run the action sequences. So you'll see in the documentary, there's a couple times where you'll see Ross say, on Tim's action. So Ross gave the command to the cruise, but then Tim is actually directing all of the people, in the fight sequences. And if Ross didn't have confidence in his ability and had been, more of a beta, then that wouldn't have happened. And then if Tim hadn't taken control of moving the pieces and bringing all of those talented people together, our action sequences would have really sucked. So, for that one, like I owe Tim big time. I owe Greg Jackson. I owe Cole. I owe Keith Jardine. And I owe Ross for being a big enough man to just kind of concede pieces of his movie to other people to control. Like, again, like these things don't happen in Hollywood. Directors are usually total cockbags that are just like, this is the way it's going to be. And like, if you move 1 millimeter the other way, like, we're going to restart. And Ross is like, yeah, fuck, let's do it. Like it was cool. It was cool. That was a special moment.
So could I throw out pretty much any name and you could tell me basically a story like that where that person just like went above and beyond?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the whole movie. The whole movie was like that. Mm-hmm. It was just kind of a crazy, again, like those things don't happen where everybody had to come through and they actually do. Usually it's the opposite. Like, 5 people have to come through and no one does. Right. That's what I'm used to in business. But, with the movie, it was the opposite. Everybody came through.
So June 30th, the Sam Goldwyn Theater in LA, which means
Beverly Hills. We're not just in LA. We're in Beverly Hills. We are driving a dagger in the heart of Hollywood. So we need some drinking bros there. Like this is a big deal. This is the biggest deal that any of us have ever been involved in. We need some drinking bros support.
Can you imagine what that caravan's going to look like coming across the U.S., like picking up drinking bros along the way?
Probably police will have to stop. Like you're not allowed in Beverly Hills. You guys are going to have to walk it in,
That's right.
I don't think regular cars are allowed in Beverly Hills. I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah. We got to get like a Lambo or something, right?
Something.
Yours?
Yeah.
So it's $100 a ticket, but half of the proceeds are going to Warrior's Heart. The other half is going to a Gallant Few, right?
Yep. Warrior's Heart and Gallant Few. We're not making any money off of this.
Yeah. And at the end of this video, so stay tuned. When we stop talking, don't log off because the information for how to get tickets is going to be posted at the end of this.
Perfect.
All right. So Nick, any other parting words?
No, once again, thanks to all of you. You guys gave me the best professional experience of my entire life, and hopefully it's not over. Hopefully we get to do this kind of cool stuff and inspire other people to do it again. But there's jack shit without you. There is no movie. There's no Range 15 without you. There's the documentary ends in failure. I will never be able to pay that back, and I appreciate it.
All right, not a war story. Your link to get tickets will be following this video. James, you want to play us out?
He doesn't have an exit.
First positions, everyone. Stand by for camera set.
I was gonna stab her with this one, like a couple times. Yeah. Because it's retractable, and then I was just gonna like slice the back of her neck.
That's genius. All right, background. Somebody hold this. I'm a roller. Okay, full go right here, guys. Full go.
I definitely don't share my humor at family gatherings because no one gets it and I get strange looks.
I think it's kind of a little darker sense of humor from being in the military. We just kind of run out of jokes, and so nothing's off limits.
Even stuff that I feel like is obviously funny, like I'll drop something and just be like, oh, all thumbs. Everyone around me is just like, I'm like, no, I realize I don't have hands.
When I was deployed on a ship for 6 months at a time, my escape from reality was movies.
If it was a military movie, it was either us in combat killing or dying, or guys coming back home and having a problem. What this movie does is, man, it kind of brings you into the fold into how we perceive things. And you watching, yeah, is it dark? Sure it is, man. But I mean, our humor's got to be dark because of the life we live in.
You're literally picking up a human being off the ground that clacked himself off, and it should be super serious. But at the same time, you're like, man, how else are you going to deal with this? A coping mechanism to allow you to move through those things is humor.
3, 2, 1, bang! Mother! Not my left one!
There's a couple of Medal of Honor winners here.
I know, baby.
Wow.
I know, it's awesome.
To me, this is the biggest miracle project I've ever worked on. Every step of the way, I've said, there's no way these guys will do it. There's no way, there's no way, there's no way.
So, you're doing this in 13 days?
Crazy, right?
Because 13 days, that is not a lot for this script. It's a big script.
The average Hollywood movie films 3 pages a day. We filmed 8 to 12 pages a day, every day. The pace was blistering.
And cut! Oh, hey, we're gonna punch in.
He can't hear me. He can't hear me.
No. I haven't been in there.
You're basically
actually coming
you're
down
not
the road.
in compliance with your permit.
Understood.
Okay? No. Please don't touch me. This is very clear. This is your last thing.
I guess this is just the way Hollywood works. Right now, we're behind. Every day that we're filming costs us 50 plus K. This is kind of intense. So every minute that we lose is kind of a big deal.
You want to test friendships, produce a movie together. This is about 50 times that joint Hawaii vacation.
We're running on just pure momentum and drive right now.
That's what's the motivator for, I think, a lot of us in this community is to succeed because of the people that made this possible.
You're the fellows who altered your life to do the job. It certainly was a sacrifice. And all of us who didn't do it should be very much aware of it.